Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Carmine.
How are you today?
Hey, catch me on a good day, I guess, right?
Oh, stop
Little,
it.
little no snow anymore, no ice. You're here. It's all good.
Yeah, we got slammed here Northeast.
Yeah, we did too. hmm
That's
I'm
great.
fully appreciating my heat and hot water right now.
And electricity, right? There's a lot of
Oh,
people about that.
that's a given. And maybe the internet, let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So we give people some time to log in here. How much snow did you guys get?
Over three feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And of
That's
course,
like half, that's like more than half my body, by the
yeah,
way.
it's literally buried. Like you walk outside
Wow.
and yeah, it's above, it's like almost shoulder. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, the
I
dog
love
did not like it. The dog could not find itself in the snow.
I love a good snow day, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
3 feet
shutdown.
when I'm skiing is fine, but not when I'm
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah. Powder,
crazy.
fine. Not good when your gas pipe gets blocked.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
I think we got like 12 or 13, but still, it's
yeah. You got more ice, I think, right? Did you get some rain?
no, we were still in the snow belt where I am, but
Okay. Phew, that's good.
south and east got the ice and this and the
Yeah.
and the rain, which is always a bad combination. Snow, I'll take ice. I can love to do without forever.
Yeah, that's me too. Well, I fell on ice. That was back surgery number one. So, yeah, you want to see somebody
Oh,
scared on ice? That would be me.
we've all fallen, Jen. I have actually, my wife has ring video of me falling multiple times on ice, and do not message her and ask her to send it to
Yeah.
you
Okay.
because and we will never talk again.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's get started here. I'm excited. This is great. Welcome to this month's webinar, Scaling That Actually Works, How Advisors Reclaim Time, Capacity, and Control. With me today is my very good friend, Jennifer Goldman, or as I call her, Jen or Jenny, whatever. So, the reason why Jen is such a great person for this topic is because she's an operations consultant today, and that's the capacity that we work together now for over 3 years, and Jen's kind of stuck with us now. We'll never get rid of her, but she was also an advisor. So you talk about someone that knows what it means to be an advisor in an environment where capacity is an issue, scaling is an issue, how to reclaim time. She knows it. And she knows obviously the back end support of how firms support advisors help grow and scale as being an operator, an operations person for firms, and now as a consultant to firms like Cornerstone. There isn't anyone better to talk about this topic. So, Jen, thank you so much for digging out of 3 feet of snow to talk to us today. I'm so happy.
No
So
problem.
happy.
Yeah, me too. Let's bring our energy to the crew.
Yeah, let's get out good vibes and some warm weather.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think I probably speak to at least a half a dozen advisors a month. And one of their biggest concerns at the firms that they're at today is their inability to grow and scale. And that could come from so many things. It could come from lack of technology. It could come from compliance constraints. Um, or where I was at an insurance company for 17 years, I was stuck having to take on clients that didn't fit my client avatar because I had to satisfy some kind of selling requirement. Right? Those are probably the big three
Mhm.
reasons the headaches that I hear from advisors that I can't grow because of and fill in the blank. Those are the top three I've heard. Jen, do you agree? Have you heard other than those that being really top concerns?
No, I think they're top. I think narrowing it down to one theme just spread too thin. Just spread too thin, right?
And as you grow, again, being an insurance company and growing an advisory practice, I should have known right at Jump Street that, yeah, there's gonna be some friction
Mhm.
because that mothership, that parent company wants to sell their products, right? And rightfully so. If I owned an insurance company, I would want to sell insurance products, right? No problem. But when my the core of my business is to provide unbiased guidance and advisory services, like asset management, financial planning, there's going to be friction, and there was for many years, and that's what got me charted outside of the insurance company realm and going independent. And the independent channel, as you know, Jen, is the largest growing segment in our industry, and with no signs of slowing.
No.
People are exiting the wirehouses, the insurance companies, the bank channels, because the friction is getting to the point where it's not friction anymore, it's fire.
Yes.
And I'm sure
I,
you've run into this too with the people that you work with in the past.
yeah. And I'm going to say on the other end of it, what we're seeing is not able to grow and scale and frying out. And then going back to that corporate environment where the pressure's on, the quality of service isn't what you want it to be, taking on clients you don't want. So, my intent, obviously being with you and doing this, is let's stay independent. Let's keep the quality there. Let's keep the business thriving, growing and scaling without having to, I don't know, give in.
Well, here's some of the things that how advisors lose capacity. As you and I spoke in preparation for today, because if people don't know me, I don't wing anything. I over prepare. Jen knows that, and she'll probably laugh later, or she's laughing now. This is fantastic. So one of the things that I have found that caused friction was taking on more clients. So that could be kind of, I think, two ways. One for me was taking on clients that needed an insurance product to satisfy that insurance company's requirement.
Mhm.
Because if I didn't hit that requirement, my payout suffered. The benefits for I could lose the benefits for me and my family because if I didn't hit a certain amount. So you were put in this position where you had to take on clients just to sell enough product. And one of our advisors here that have left that same insurance company about 3.5 years ago and joined Cornerstone, he framed it up perfectly. He said, for the first 6 months of the year, I was working on their goals. Then the second 6 months of the year, then we were working on our goals. And I thought that was a really brilliant way to frame it up because from July 1st to June 30th, this company's sales requirements, that was their year. And I just never put it in that way that you can actually basically say for 17 years, I was only working half the year on my vision. The other way to take on more clients is, you look at the wirehouses. They all have requirements.
Mhm.
You have to bring in a certain amount of AUM. And Jen, that's where you were with one of the big wires.
Yeah, Smith Barney before Tucker and then Smith Barney. So yeah, there was
So there
all
was
about volume and smiling and dialing. And oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that, dating myself. But you're right. It was always about that. And that was at a time when planning was starting to become more prevalent, but certainly not adopted by the wirehouses and the insurance companies.
no, now it's I think it's become more front
Yep,
focused because I think the consumers are demanding it,
absolutely.
which is great because in my opinion, I charged my first financial planning fee in '05.
Mhm.
And I got in the industry in '03. So it was something I wanted to do very early on because I knew the impact. And here, all the advisors at Cornerstone, we do a lot of planning because we know that's the proper way to help most clients. So bringing on more clients in one way or another, that obviously loses advisors lose a lot of time and creates a lot of complexity. Next is expanded services. Your firm may require you to do a certain amount of business that in an area that you don't want to do. It could be a product or service that maybe you're not confident in, or more importantly, you don't agree with. That's another conflicted environment that can cause a lot of complexity in your practice. What about layered processes? We talk about compliance. So look at the big wirehouses, look at the bank channels, the insurance companies, right? Those are kind of the three major. They have 10, 15,000 advisors around the country. How do you set up compliance guardrails? You have to design your compliance to the lowest common denominator. So which means the advisor that's got 30 years in the business, no disclosures, has done always right by the client, has to follow the same rules as someone that just got licensed last month. Okay. Those expanded or layered processes on just way to do business puts the advisor in a position where scaling is almost impossible.
Yeah.
You have to hire staff just to deal with the processes needed to process a new application for an account.
Mhm.
I know many people at the insurance company that when they see our environment, they're like, wait, this is all you have to do. It's like someone turned the light on.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, here you're treated like an adult. We don't have to reduce or we don't have to expand our compliance guidelines for the person who just got licensed because we don't have that here.
Yeah.
Jen, any experience around that?
Well, you're talking about like the internal ops, and I'm going to also tack on the external communication.
Mm,
Like just telling, as we say, war stories, but back in the day, you wanted to create a communication to clients or prospects. The amount of red tape to just get that approved and out the door was virtually impossible. It wasn't worth it. And yet that was the way to get in front of your clients and consumers in need. So, it's both internal, but it's also external. And it hurts. I think you're totally right about the scale and the growth. So at that end, you cannot scale internally because you're tied by processes and processes. And then
hmm
you're also tied on external, the growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the next one, and I agree 100%. The next one is a pain point I hear a lot of, and you definitely hear a lot of, is tech stack limitations or sprawl or complexity. And this goes back to have an alignment with the firm that you're with. Now, you can have alignment with the firm saying, I want to build an advisory practice. Okay, well, okay, build it here. We're going to pay you X. We have to do these other things, which is fine. You have some alignment, but true alignment is when your vision and the firm's visions overlap. When that happens, there's no need for a 6 month approval process for an OBA or something around that. No, it's like, oh, we get it. All the other advisors do it here. You're good to go. Or we
Mhm.
understand that we don't even need the why. We get it.
Mhm.
With Tech Stack, let me give you an example. This insurance company paid, I don't know how much for this beautiful CRM. And it was like 2 year launch. I think it was Salesforce. It was whatever their version of Salesforce was. No one used it. It was not even functional. In fact, the advisors that I'm talking to from the insurance company, many that have come over and the many that we're talking to today, they all use another CRM because the one that they paid tens of millions, who
Mhm.
knows how much they paid, and that each advisor and agent at this, they have to pay for it too,
Yep.
is not even usable.
But they have to log into both. They have to log into the one they want that
Mhm.
helps them grow and scale. And then they also have to put data in the one of the house or
Correct.
HQ. It's the double work that is unreal. It's
And that is going to, now, I want to be very clear. Jen, you know this of me. It's not about creating time to go find more clients. Create time to go take a sabbatical. Actually have a true detachment day when you have a week where you're not on email, where you're reading books, you're allowing yourself to think. That's one thing that most advisors don't do is they're great at working in their business and they're bad at working on their business. And I always use it now, like, just try to work on an engine in a car with it running. No, no, no. You got to shut it down. Shut it down. You'll get done a lot faster, a lot more efficiently if you just shut
Mhm.
down. But with all of these requirements, you can't stop. You're on that hamster wheel, you're on that treadmill. You have no choice.
Well,
Uh,
that's like the no. We're talking about the boundaries of we always say yes to things and we're always running. When's the no? When's this? Let me step aside and take a look at the bigger picture. Or, like you said, read a good book, be in a tree stand, whatever it
yeah,
takes,
right.
right? To get yourself grounded in what you want versus what everyone else is asking of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I detach. You know this. I detach. I have 2 sabbaticals a year,
Hmm.
and whenever I detach, my best ideas come
Yeah.
because no breakthroughs happening in an office because we're on the offense. I'm sorry, we're on the defense
Yeah.
all day. It's when you shut down. It's when you're in your car and you miss your exit because you're deep in thought. That's when you know you're onto something. You're
Yeah.
laughing because I know you've done it. You probably
I've
did it
done that.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, when you're deep in thought and you
Yeah.
miss your exit, whatever
Yeah.
you're thinking of, you got to dig a little deeper, peel that onion because you're onto
Yeah.
something. But when you're in the midst of a day where you have to hit a product requirement, or your staff is working on some context inefficiency with the firm, how are you supposed to detach mentally? You can't. It's impossible.
Hard.
And the one thing I found with helping dozens of advisors lead these constrained environments is I call you have 100-pound rucksack on as you're in these constrained firms. The moment you resign, you put it down. Walking becomes easier. Thinking becomes easier. Everything becomes easier because you're not in the volume game anymore.
Yeah.
You're in the intentional game, which is much, much different. Um, Now, simplification is something that's very important too. And when you're in these constrained environments, it's very hard because a lot of the tools that we use to simplify, like Zapier for automations and the way our CRM, but these things don't exist in these constrained environments. And as Ed Milet says, and I think it's so true, complexity is the enemy of execution. So the more complicated your process is, the least likely you're able to scale it. And reading Dr. Ben Hardy's book, The Science of Scaling, when you choose that pathway, you make sure it's the simplest thing to do.
Yeah.
And in these constrained environments, there's nothing simple, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Jen,
I think there's the friction of what's in your control versus what's out.
correct.
So to be fair, right, even if we took the techniques that we'll allude to today and talk about some of those, you're going to hit a wall. There's going to be a point when that wall is so great that you cannot, even with the sack off your back, get over the wall, right? So I think we have to find better ways to simplify, but I think at some point we have to call it for what it is. We are constrained, it is out of our control, and now we need to pivot.
Yeah, and those, I put out something I think last year that insurance company I was at, they changed the rules yet again on all the good advisors that were there and made it very hard for them to keep their payouts and their benefits and everything because there was more emphasis on their core product. So I call that moving the goalpost. So not only are they manipulating the way you do business day in and day out to what their goals and objectives are and what the lowest common denominator is, now they move the goalposts as, the rules are changing in favor of, and fill in the blank. And it's going to be what their vision is, not yours. And this adds all this complexity and simplifications. What does it really mean? Simplification in our industry means being very clear on who you work with, right? I call that the client avatar. Hey, client needs to look like this, minimum revenue of this, needs of this, because that's my specialty. These are the people I love to work with. Now, we were taught to do that to a certain degree. Actually, it was outside coaching that taught me how to do that. But when I was in that constrained environment with that clock ticking for that year and you have to do a certain amount of production, I had to put that aside and go, look, I'll get to this client avatar when I'm done checking their box. Right. So everything I put on pause. But clarifying the business that you want to design is very hard because what they want has to be part of your narrative. Yeah. Resetting service levels and expectations to your clients. How hard would it be to set up a strategic calendaring system where and Jen, you know how we do it here with advisors, having surge months, and how do you do that around if you have a requirement, right? That's got to be super hard. Right. And removing processes that no longer then create leverage. But if someone else is demanding that you use these processes as required, how do you remove them?
Well, I think even in a demanding environment, I think it's your prerogative and you should be defining what you want and knowing there's a gap between what you have to do and what you want to do. I think, I'm a big fan of, if you write it, it will happen, feel the dreams, we can go whatever we want. But the reality is that I don't think you want to avoid this. I don't think you want to live in it and just give in. I think you want to set the bar and say, this is what I'm aiming for. And I realize there's a gap between what I have to do and what I want to do, but at least I have clarity. I think that gives people hope. I think it gives them a direction then to start making better decisions about every next step that they take. So just to be fair, I think we're talking about clarifying, right, and simplifying with the idea of then pivoting. Isn't it?
Great. That's a great way to frame it. And when the vision is clear, decisions are easy.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Once you're super clear on what you want, whether it's a 3-year, 5-year time frame, whatever it is, or I want to retire, whatever that is. Yeah. The decision you have to make later on that day becomes much more easier because now you have your filter.
That's right.
But it's your filter.
That's right.
What about
and it's something there in front of you to remind you. It's almost like a mantra in the morning. I know a lot of us listen to great influencers, right? And read and so forth, and we carry those around in our heads. But this is the mantra of live your life the way you want to live it. Yes, can you still be in that environment? Maybe not forever. But, start moving forward. Because here's what I see, and that you may see less of. I see the business people that are giving in. I see the people that are giving up. I see the people that have lost that excitement and that drive about giving a great client experience and frankly, then rewarding their team. And that's just disappointing. I just don't think we need to be there. I think we need to shift that paradigm.
How have you seen things like client segmentation
Yeah.
and workflows and things like that? When you've seen someone, how do you see that move the needle for advisors in creating time and scaling?
In ways nobody would expect. I didn't, when I first built this out, being a part of firms and then helping lead through change, I didn't actually understand the neuroscience behind it, to be fair, but there is backing to this. So when you actually document your client experiences, and I say that plural, because no doubt all of us have more than one experience that we're
Hmm.
offering, right away, you naturally know where you need to say no. You naturally know what you need to stop doing. You naturally know what doesn't feel right because your gut twists in a knot. It's not, to be fair, it's writing is the therapy, but it's also the decision making. So, and keeping it simple and transparent with your team members or your
Hmm.
mentors, or let's say it's a peer in the industry, right, that you want to get soundboard something off of. I have seen a change to the point where firms have done delegation of more than 50% of their book to a younger advisor,
Hmm.
more than 70% of their client base to another party that's a subsidiary. I've seen where they have changed the entire digital experience for some level of clients. And don't get me wrong, at all levels, the most comprehensive client to the most simple client, and done it 10 times faster than if they hadn't documented. It's
So true. Even
game
what we did
changing.
internally, and you wrote shotgun on some of this here with my book of business. I brought on two servicing advisors and shed my retirement plan business and about
Mhm.
140 private wealth clients, and I manage about 25 still today. In those transitions, not a single client had a problem with it.
That's right.
And I think there's some real mental block. And if it's advisor has scarcity mentality, that's a really tough hurdle. That and by the way, we especially the insurance
We know.
company,
We know.
we
Yeah.
were it was a scarcity environment.
Yes.
They're like, bring on that person with a
Yeah.
that puts $50 a month into a
Mhm.
529 plan today, which costs you money to do because they may need term insurance when they buy a house
Mhm.
and their parents may need long-term care
Yeah.
insurance. Take everyone on. Where now that we're independent, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
You don't work with that client. That client doesn't need your level of sophistication.
Yeah.
Point them in the right direction, give them the help they
That's right.
need. I'm not saying leave anyone out in the cold.
No.
We help people. Impact is our KPI that we strive to hit all
Yeah.
the time. So help them,
Yeah,
but
but think
don't.
about, we'll use, if we could, we use an experience. You did that in under a year and a half.
Mhm.
Okay. You did that with no client complaining and actually embracing and liking. You did that to actually boost all sorts of things about the business. And this is what other businesses do. When they write it, then they realize, well, I am overgiving. The client's going to be okay with less or different. And oh, this actually feeds the bottom line to reward my team. And frankly, I'm going to be honest, do some pretty amazing events, client events, charitable events,
Yep.
community things, giving. I mean, let's just, so if you, just the scarcity mindset, it exists. I have it. Okay, I'm flat out. Anybody who knows me well knows I have it. I grew up with it. I can't seem to shed it. But the more that I write, the more that I realize, wow, this is going to work out just fine. And I think that's what we need to encourage people to do is just to start writing it out. Again, it's not a commitment to doing, it's just writing.
And when you realize that we all have capacity issues, and again, freeing up time again isn't to then work more. It's like, hey, well, I want to take 6 weeks off a year to be in my family. Great, do it.
Yeah.
So do these things to create space. We only have so many seats on the bus, as Joe Lucas says all the time. You have so many seats on the bus. Great. Know that number and say if anyone needs to come out, and if anyone's going to come on the bus, they need to look like this in
Yes.
order for me to work with them. But bringing on a servicing advisor, now you have someone that's trained, that's credentialed, that's worked with you. Like my service advisor worked with me for 3 years before he was given any lead advisor
Mhm.
roles. And not only did clients not mind, they all knew him. That we're getting referrals. He's getting referrals.
That's right.
Um, it could be done, but it takes the lead advisor to say the only way I can free up, the only way I can elevate or raise my
Yes.
floor is I got to raise the floor of everyone in my organization.
That's
I just can't raise up and leave everyone here. No, no, no. Everyone gets better. That servicing advisor is handling revenue, household revenues of 30 grand or more.
mhm.
And if you asked me that 3 years ago, I would never get that client up. now I have to in order to expand my role as CEO. Because again, we only have so much capacity.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
And we want, and most advisor owners have gotten in to make a greater impact.
yeah,
We can't lose sight of why we did that and why we want to continue to scale and grow. This is not out of greed. This is out of impact. At least those that I work with, right? No, just to be fair. And everybody's being rewarded along the way. Let's not lie about that. But again, this is about impact. If you stay in those weeds, if you don't do this and work through this and then start to delegate or shed whatever then you won't live that storyline that you had in your head. And I think we need, again, change the paradigm. Let's do it. So,
and in a scarcity environment,
hmm,
adding more is always the answer. Where now I take my advisors through business planning every year, and the mantra is, what do you need to eliminate?
that's right.
Elimination is more important to growth than adding stuff. Okay. We're developing white papers right now for advisors that followed our framework and the impact. And you're talking in 2 years, one more than double this practice. In 2 years and 9 months, one team went 3x,
Mhm.
not by growing other segments of their business, by eliminating everything else and focusing on one pathway, one or two pathways, the most. And we support them and help them do that. And we have great success stories here, as you know. That'll be part of our webinar series coming up this year of dissecting these case studies and bringing the advisors on to talk to them. Like, what was it like shedding one of them had a horrible scarcity mindset. I pleaded with him for years and I said, look, just try my system. If you don't like it, go back to your old ways. And guess what? He's now looking at 3Xing his business in 3 years.
Mhm.
Oh, and by the way, by working with less households, and he's working 6 hours or less a week on average.
Yeah.
So all good things, but elimination is more important to growth than adding. And that was always a roadblock in my head because, my whole family are Italian immigrants, right? It's all about you got to work hard, work
Work.
hard. No, no, no,
Let's
no, no.
work.
Hold on, pump the brakes, Pop.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
the answer all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there's the working and then there's the smarter working. And like we have to add that word in there. Let's be smarter about it. And you're
that's it.
totally
Yeah.
right. And listen, for those of that mentally are having a little bit of what I call a freak out in your amygdala, the flight or fight. If you can't eliminate, at least find ways to integrate and to delegate to get to eliminate. There's other ways to do this, to step into this. I mean, Carmine can flip a switch and do this quickly or run into it and believe in it, but others are slower on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to do nothing, I don't want to tell you those stories. Let's stay positive, right?
Yeah.
Let's do something.
Let's stick on the mental part because this is probably. I had someone message me on LinkedIn recently and asked me, and coaching my advisors, what's the biggest hurdle? And it's always mental,
Yeah.
right? It's always changing someone's framework or how they think or
Mhm.
believe in something.
Mhm.
And there's resistance. Advisors get stuck emotionally in their environment they're in or just their thought process of what was taught to them when they came into the industry.
Mhm.
And that stuck with me for many years when I was at the insurance company. But when we're talking to advisors about an independent pathway, it's like, all right, fear of revenue loss.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard this too, Jen. Disappointing clients or clients not coming with them.
Mm.
Or, I have an identity. They know me as the fill in the blank company person, right? And I can tell you this with certainty. Well, I can't say with all 100% certainty for all the advisors that I've helped go independent, whether it was at Cornerstone or elsewhere. I will tell you that none of that is true. The revenue loss potentially is, well, first of all, that is true. Time is the healer. It becomes a rounding error a year after, maybe.
I was just going to say though, if you're doing a simple P&L projection, right, through transition, you actually have so much less revenue loss. And let's be honest, what are we talking? Gross revenue? Because I care about net profit
That's
too.
right. See, that's the point. I was talking to someone at this insurance company and they said, well, I'm at a 93% payout. I said, no, you're not.
That's right.
Because what they would be with us was lower. Like, I'm not leaving for a lesser payout. I said, let's talk about what your quote unquote payout is. Because after the platform fee, we don't have that here. You're actually net positive. In fact, every advisor that has left that insurance company to come here, they look at a 10 to 20+% increase in rev per net of AUM dollar. Um, and it's not just here, of course. It probably most independent firms you're going to see, you're going to get a raise.
Mhm.
And I was on the board of that RIA that the insurance company owned for 7 years before my departure. So I know their structure. And if you think a payout number is the most is important, I would say like peel the onion.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you know what? Let's relate it. As an owner, peel the onion on the payout,
Mhm.
do your own P&L projection. Come on, this is napkin math. It's the same as like talking to your staff person who says, my comp is my salary. Really? What about health benefits? What about the 401k match? What about the perks? What about the sabbatical? What about you got to peel back the onion on money.
Yeah. I had one advisor with this insurance company say, look, this is what I'm losing if I leave. And I said,
Regaining.
if you're worried about what you're quote unquote losing,
Yeah.
then you'll never leave.
Yeah.
I was leaving very high six-figure revenue. I did leave very high six-figure
Mhm.
revenue when I left the insurance company because they have handcuffs. And yeah, for the most part, they're golden. But there's two types of people. There's one person says, oh, look at these beautiful golden handcuffs. They shine either. They're probably worth a lot of money. And then there's me. Get these things off me. I don't care what color they are. And I'll know within 10 minutes of talking to someone in that constrained environment which person they are.
Mhm.
Because they may, and there's nothing wrong with valuing the golden handcuffs. Just don't complain about all the other things because this is what you get, right? You can't have both. But if you focus on what you're walking away from, you'll never leave. And
That's
every
right.
year you stay in that environment, it, I can't quantify it, but I can tell you the growth that the advisors have had here and other independent firms, they've never seen that level of growth while they're in that constrained environment.
Yeah.
That I can tell
And
you
they
for
don't
sure.
and they don't understand. I mean, I think that's the difference. When I talk to businesses, they're like, "Yeah, I want to do this, I want to do them, and that is really going to grow." Now that's not going to grow. Yes, that's going to make my life better, but I'm like, "Wait a minute. Let me be clear. Your happiness is direct correlated to growth. Like
Yeah.
you're walking out of that office feeling trapped, feeling tight. Guess what? Nobody's going to refer you business. Don't be fooled by that. And you know this, right? And any business that is broken free and is truly independent and looks forward, right? Or drafts forward what they think they want, they're always going to grow. That is part of the success of those stories. When you hear these firms, like we work a lot, we have like a 10 to 35% profit increase when we work with businesses. And they're like, well, they don't even understand that the freeing of the shackles is what allowed them to grow. It wasn't more marketing. It wasn't going out and doing some amazing like seminar that it was just being who they were in a better environment.
I would tell you, we have a question here, I believe, but I'll get to it in a second.
Yeah.
Well, the year that I left was 2020. So I'm not the best in timing, right? Supposed to leave in March. COVID hit. My attorney said, look, the SEC is all working remotely. I can't get me on the phone. So we wound up leaving in May. I did not onboard a client for just shy of 6 months that year because our pause, COVID, transition. I had my best AUM year to date that year. And it was because, yes, the cuffs came off, huge distractions I had, but still in less than half the year, roughly half the year, it was those powerful conversations to my clients about why I was leaving.
That's right.
I say this, we had a team leave, come join us last year, and they had some anxiety around the narrative to their clients. And I said, this is great. You're looking at it, and I was anxiety ridden, but when I look back now, this is your chance of your clients have to make a decision to rehire you.
Yeah.
But now they're reflecting on all the great work you've done for them over the years. So Jen, you're calling me, hey, I'm changing firms. Here's the why. I had a conflict of interest here. The independent channel allows me all this flexibility and opportunity. Your fees stay the same. Everything stays blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blanks. I'm going to go, well, okay. Jen's done all this great work for me and my family. Of course, Jen. I'm on for the ride. Just let me know what I need to do. Right? It's a no-brainer for the client.
That's right.
Because if your client's with you because you're with that firm, is that really a client?
That's not really clean. And you just tackled two things that you didn't even realize. So let me call them out for those. The why comment you just made. First of all, for any of you who haven't done the Find Your Why with Simon Sinek,
Oh,
game changer.
for sure.
Okay. And finding a partner to share that with, as we both know. And the other thing is Toyota has this whole thing about four whys. When you're working on futuristic thinking that is scary, write out what you're thinking about and why thinking about it might make things better. That why is so crucial. And by the way, that you're right, that absolutely drives prospects and clients. If they know your why and it aligns with theirs or emotionally attaches, they're yours for life.
Well, think about it. My narrative to my clients were, look, there's a conflict of interest. They're making me sell too much of their product. And I'm not leaving for money. I'm leaving to better the client experience. It was 100% true. Well, I'm walking away for money. It's actually costing me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And why wouldn't a client get out? In fact, the attorneys and CPAs I talked to that were clients and understood fiduciary duty, one of them said, yeah, it's about time. I never want to say anything, but it's about time. More introductions and referrals came in that year because of that strengthened relationship. They're hiring you again. There's a rejuvenation in the relationship.
Yeah.
And then for the people that understand the why, they're more open to saying, yeah, all right, you're independent, you're fee only, Roger that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just opens their you're in a different light. And I'll tell you, every advisor should go through that at least once in their career, asking their clients to rehire you. I think it's a fantastic exercise to do. Don't do that unless you're leaving your firm. Don't do that.
Well, listen, it's going to be a catalyst, right? The minute you truly define, that's a pivot point. So everybody's going to find their own pivot point. Yes.
Yeah.
But be ready.
Now, what advisors, Jen, in your opinion, you're on the operation side. So scaling starts with, you can be an advisor, say, I want to scale. I'm going to scale this. I'm going to grow to this. And the first question I would ask, how are you going to do it? You would ask the same thing. Like, what are the things that advisors, they have capacity leaks that they don't even know they have, that you can look at it and say, oh yeah, you need to do this in order for you to scale. Like, how do you get the table set for an advisor if they want to scale?
Yeah, there's just so much to unpack. Well, one, where do we find time and energy, right? We have to find things to either eliminate, delegate, integrate. So finding time, you can't see that. You're emotionally attached. So that's just a given. Two, if you have anyone on your team, boy, just love them. Love them and delegate to them. I think that we just don't do that enough when we're going through a major pivot. So that's another thing to get ready for. Three, do the math. Do the math. I can't say that enough. Do the math. You'll be surprised at how freeing this whole thing is, and also how it frees you up. Because I think you started off this whole thing with some of the reasons that an advisor team or an advisor owner would come to you and talk. And I say, it's still time and capacity. If this view of your future self in this independent firm doesn't give you more time capacity, you aren't going to do it. So figure out what you want to get out of it, and you'll run faster.
That's a great point. That's a great filter, because if they're interviewing firms, if you can look at their tech stack and their automation, everything, like, look, this is going to create time. Like, look at our service team, right? You know how we built it out. We're further building it out.
That's right.
We have and I just talked to one of our advisor teams about how we started the service team. So 30,000 foot view, we have a team of people here, super great people here at our home office in Fairfield, New Jersey. They help the advisor with all their back office support, new applications, pre and post meeting prep, like literally the advisors schedule a meeting like it's on autopilot. And where that came from was I was at a mastermind meeting in Denver. I think it was 3.5 years ago. And in these mastermind forums, you present your biggest issue, opportunity, concern, and get feedback from your peers. And this mastermind I was a member of at the time, they're all advisors. They weren't firm owners. I didn't have anything to present. So I went around the room and I polled the room. I said, hey, what service do you wish your firm offered you today that you would jump on right now if they offered it? And there were 15 people, I believe, in that room. 12 of the 15 said access to administrative staff people. If they're so hard to find, they're so hard to train, they're so hard to keep. I leave the room. Oh, and by the way, the other 3 said, yeah, put me down for that as well at the end. So we had a unanimous decision. And I was with Coach Joe Lucas at the time. I leave at break and I call my COO and I said, hey, we need to build this out. Advisors need access to administrative staff people. So flash forward today, We have 8 or 9 of our advisors,
Yeah.
actually 11 of our advisors using our team, and we're building out the team. Hired 2 new last year, another one's in the interview process today. And this is something that's needed. Now, how does that free up time? You don't have to train them on a new tech stack at a new firm. You don't have to inspire them. By the way, hiring someone and giving them a W-2 does not make you a leader. Okay. We are not only leading them, we're inspiring them, and they're all leaders in their own silo here. We're not training staff people, team members. You're
No,
training.
but you know what you're doing too? You're upskilling and you're not filling the gap with more humans only when necessary. I
Yep.
think that's the point of running a business versus being in the business. We don't just throw more humans at a capacity problem. We first think, what can we again eliminate, like get rid of or do differently so it's less work? And then you add the human, which then engages them more because they're being used at their highest calling. So
Yeah.
yeah, just calling that out. I
Very
think
true.
it's super important.
But eliminating that off the advisor's plate of where to hire, or
Yeah.
we've had multiple people shift staff people into different roles because they're not going to sit on the phone with Schwab and deal with a NIGO issue or an ACAT issue. No, elevate. And this goes back to me saying, if you're an advisor, you want to elevate, your staff has to elevate with you.
Mm-hmm.
So the advisors that had staff still use our service team, but they've now elevated their existing staff to be servicing advisors, to then work in the financial planning software, whatever. But everyone has to elevate. It's not elevator just doesn't lift one. It's got to lift everybody.
That's right.
And we set that environment up to eliminate all that back office need. And in fact, we now have a front office solution where our staff here are acting as their EA. So we're building out to empower the advisor to free up their time. When I discovered time was a currency in life, not money, my whole life changed. That became my filter. And if you give me the choice 100 times, I'll waste money before I ever waste time. Always make more money. Time management is BS. The clock's ticking here. I can't control it. Jen can't control it. Actually, Jen might be able to control it.
No, I can't.
Yeah. She has superpowers.
Yes, but yeah.
We can't control it.
Yeah.
But you can prioritize the things in your life within those time blocks. That's the difference.
Well,
we can't control it.
Let's do the full circle as simply as possible without a diagram. And I'm itching to get my hands on a whiteboard to say this.
No, we have to hold you back from that.
I know we do, because I'm all about visuals, as you know.
Yep.
When you have the time, you create greater impact. When you create greater impact, it's more rewarding to others. And it boosts your value and your future. So if I had to tie it all in, you're spinning forward and up in a good way to have a better future, whatever that looks like. And I'm going to be honest, maybe isn't this awesome? I've built a much better, stronger business and I have a successor that will keep doing things the way I wanted them done and carry my legacy on. Maybe I'm making more of an impact in the community because I have the time and I can be on that extra board that I couldn't do before, or teach, whatever. We really have to be a little bit better about boundaries and saying no or delegating out. And I think you're right. Breaking free of those handcuffs allows you to think that, dream it, and do it.
Jen, for someone listening who's realizing this isn't broken, but it's heavier than it needs to be, what one thing should they walk away from thinking differently about today?
You mean take out of that backpack you're talking about, that rucksack?
Yes.
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Because it could be many things.
Yeah, I'm going to give 2. I'm sorry, guys. I always give 2. I'm not going to give 1. 2 things. 1, you know the answer. But if you have to pull it out of your own gut, then literally write down what you're doing with clients, the different experiences, sit back and take a look at it the next day. You'll know what to eliminate.
Yeah.
On a different note, you're wearing too many hats. You need to decide which hat you're going to drop. And I'm going to expand it. When we do org design, we include the fact that if you're a soccer coach, you're on 5 boards, you're the owner of your business, you're the family head, you're the breadwinner. Those are all roles. So stop thinking just about your little world of the business and think about your whole world, all 24 hours of it.
Great. Love it. That's perfect. That is perfect. And I always say, be a better human. Everything you should be doing every day, not just a better advisor, not a better team member, a better human. Better human. It's great. Great way to frame that up, and great way to kind of get to a close here. Any other questions, please put in the chat, put in Q&A. Jen's time is very valuable. We're so lucky to have her today. And
Yeah.
try to
And
squeeze that rag out as much as we possibly can.
oh, well, Carmine knows this, but anyone who's watching this and doesn't know me, reach out, ask the question, throw
Yeah.
the problem. I I am the worst salesperson in the world. I am not. I'm going to just tell you what's worked with others. And you know what? Take it or leave it. This is business and you have to survive. And I'm going to use Carmine's words. They're awesome. Be a better human.
And if anybody wants to talk about how the independent channel looks, feels, what the differences are, please reach out. Reach out. I wrote a best-selling book called Broken Dealer with my very good friend Darren Blonsky. It is a great roadmap to success on, first of all, should you go independent, and then how to, and some bear traps that him and I navigated through and weren't shy to put in the book. The mistakes we made, don't make them. The book is a great manual. But great, thank you all for your time, and reach out if you have any questions, and you have yourself a great day. Take care. Jen, thank you again.
No problem. See you guys after in the show notes. Bye.
Yep. Take care.